So speaking of dignity and safety and equality, for hundreds of years, the LGBTQ community was forced to live in the closet, as most of you already know, unable to contribute to society as who they really are. That is until recently, with the extension of equal protections under the law, marriage, adoption, those kind of things. But what about donating blood? Did you know, dating back to the HIV/AIDS epidemic, gay men were essentially prevented from donating blood out of fear that blood would be infected with the AIDS virus? After decades of rolling up their sleeves to fight such discrimination, those regulations are now changing thanks to a recent federal reversal, so that those in the LGBT community can now roll up their sleeves and provide for community blood banks. Here's Joe Paris.
Blood donation restrictions on gay and bisexual men date back to the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. At the time, the federal government created a lifetime ban on blood donations policy for men who have sex with men.
There was a huge fear factor.
Judy Cross is a retired St. Luke's nurse. She remembers the HIV/AIDS epidemic here in Idaho well. LGBTQ patients were in scary territory.
We had to make rules in the hospital that you don't put HIV across the doorway or the end of the bed or anything like that, because that immediately put them at a disadvantage.
The stakes of even interacting with a gay man who was HIV positive were high.
Some physicians actually lost patients because they wouldn't come to them anymore if they were taking care of those people.
An added layer for Cross. She herself is a member of the LGBTQ community.
For a long time I didn't really label myself, but everybody knew that I was a member of the community. I only got arrested 8 times for add the words.
In 2015, the ban was altered to allow gay men to donate blood, but only if they abstained from sexual contact for a full year. In 2020, that was changed to a 3-month waiting period. And regulators say there was no negative impact on the blood supply as a result of those changes. Now, another change is being processed. Just announced FDA guidelines get rid of the requirement that men who have sex with men abstain from sex for 3 months prior to giving blood. Instead, all potential donors, regardless of sexual orientation, sex, or gender, will be screened with a new questionnaire that evaluates their individual risk for HIV based on sexual behavior, recent partners, and other factors. Potential donors who report having anal sex with new partners in the last 3 months will be barred from giving until a later date.
Great news. It's welcome news.
Former Idaho lawmaker John McCrotzy is one of the men who will soon be donating blood. We spoke with him about this in 2022.
I haven't donated blood since I came out a number of decades ago, and only in compliance with that federal requirement. Once the rules are implemented, have gotten down to local blood banks and blood donation drives, then you will certainly see me in line. It's not going to happen tomorrow, because the rules do need to flow down to the local banks and to have their new questionnaire in place. But once it does, you will see me in line, Joe.
This change is refreshing. It is a change that we're looking at not the gender or sexual orientation. It's really looking at clinical criteria, and we're saving the respect and the dignity of the people that are donors and the respect and dignity of patients.
We applaud the FDA's decision to change the rules to determine who's available to donate blood. By switching to a more individual risk assessment basis, that adds a level of inclusivity to the blood donation process that we haven't seen in a long time, and that opens it up for pretty much almost anyone to be able to donate blood and help save lives.
Donald Williamson is executive director of Boise Pride. He says the change is welcome and long overdue for the community.
It's been an antiquated rule for forever because they test every pint of blood that comes through anyway. So why have this antiquated rule on the books when you're testing for any issues regardless of who it is that's donating it?
The timing of the change, right as Pride Month begins, it's timing that's being celebrated.
A number of years ago, we started talking about how pride in and of itself is an act of resistance. And in standing up for ourselves, that we are contributing members of society, that we pay our taxes, we mow our lawns, we keep our neighborhoods looking nice and clean. there's nothing wrong with who you are as an LGBTQ plus person, and you deserve to celebrate this month and the other 11 months along with it.
I've gradually seen things come from a very, very scary, hateful time from the general public to people being resilient, people growing and being able to stand up for themselves, and for people to stand up for the LGBT community.
As we touched on in the story, the new regulations and questionnaires are being rolled out, and we will circle back when we know those are getting fully implemented. But they really are focused on just the blood donations, getting as many as possible. For example, the new questionnaire, it looks to be super inclusive. It allows people to identify their gender identity in the way that they feel fits best. So no hassle or issues over what your sex is at birth. And Brian, again, this is just coming down to behavior and the individualized behavior, no matter if you're gay, straight, anything in between. It's interesting too, because when I talk to advocates in the LGBTQ community, they say we understand kind of where this conversation came from. When we understood in the 70s, 80s, there wasn't a lot known about HIV and AIDS. Well, now we know a lot more about it, and we can use the science to make sure that we're being safe.
That's what gets me. To think that they were just using a questionnaire to decide whether your blood was safe, would think that would be just kind of ridiculous, because obviously they're testing it. So those barriers are already in place to kind of put dangerous blood out in the environment.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't know if you have something, in your blood, and that's why all blood is tested.